Brother Luis, is there more than one volume of sacred law on the altar at your symbolic lodge meetings?
There could be, but usually there's not. You know,
usually
most
just the Bible.
Yeah, because we are a largely Christian country, so we don't have a lot of people from other religions. And but you know, it's interesting because I'm Jewish, and when I was taking my oath, I was asked to bring Tanakh, which is the Jewish Bible. Let's call it that. Okay, so I swore my oath, you know, with my hand on the Jewish Bible. You know, it was very considerate of the lodge where I was made a Mason. And but for most lodges, you know, you will only have a Bible, and they will only do something different about that if someone asks, but usually only for the oaths. Not
well, we found something where we're very similar then, except we don't even bother to ask. But well, unless if the candidate asks. All right, Brother Rubens, I found my more important questions at the bottom here. Do you have smoking? Do you smoke cigars after the meeting? Do you allow smoking in the lodge or afterwards? Or usually do you ban smoking in the buildings? How are you all?
Well, usually in Brazil, we have our dinner after the meeting. It's not like usually in US, you have it before the meeting.
Right.
So after the meeting, depends on the space you have in the lodge, you may, in the building, you may smoke. Not cigars usually, but cigarettes. People that smoke usually smoke cigarettes. But just if you have a space, because in Brazil it's very strict, the law on smoking in closed place. So this is the point.
Okay. Brother Felipe, are you allowed to have alcohol at say your dinners before or after the meeting? Yes.
After the meeting.
Okay. Brother Luis, same question. Are you allowed to drink?
Cigars are not a very popular habit here in Brazil. I've only seen it like once or twice, but I mean at lodges, of course. But alcoholic drinks are usually served during dinner. You know, at least beer or some wine, maybe.
See, we can learn from our Brazilian brothers. You all may be familiar with the prohibition movement in the U.S. the first part of the 20th century. Because of that, our Grand Lodge and most Grand Lodges forbid alcohol in the building, period. If it's a Masonic function, you're not allowed to serve alcohol. And there's quite a few people have been chafing against that in recent years. The Scottish Rite actually voted that you can, we don't allow gambling. Like we don't allow like lotto or stuff. Lodges used to have like 50-50 where you chip in $5 or whatever, you get so many tickets. In the end of the night, you draw one ticket, that person takes home half the pot, and the Scottish Rite keeps the other half. It's a very useful fundraiser. Masons, Blue Lodges are not allowed to have gambling of any kind of games of chance, and they're not allowed to have alcohol. The Scottish Rite is allowed to have alcohol, but then it's a question of, well, who owns the building? Because if the Scottish Rite owns the building and they choose to have a dinner where they serve alcohol, they can. But if the Grand Lodge views it as, well, it's a Masonic building, I don't care if you're an independent body, you can't do it. So there's a lot of pushback because people want to open it up and have more alcohol. Clearly at our annual events, you know, where we meet in a hotel and have our conferences, there's always hospitality rooms and plenty of people socializing. But so people are some are trying to make a movement to allow alcohol. And I understand why it came about and why they're still resistant to it today. They're worried that guys will get drunk at the meeting, after the meeting, go home, drive drunk, whatever. But that's kind of it's a bit of a conflict in the States right now over that, because some people want to open it back up. So.
And what about the Shriners meeting?
They're a totally separate body and they do what they do. A shrine unit will never meet a shrine. I keep trying to get their name right. A shrine body will never meet at a Blue Lodge. They own their own building. So they do whatever they want. Just because they're Masons at their heart, they're a totally separate body, and the Grand Lodge can't control what they do at their meetings. But they do typically drink before and during the meetings. I wanted to touch on the appendant bodies. So accepting that, setting aside the Scottish Rite that practices the craft degrees, I'm talking strictly as once you're a Master Mason, you can go and join the Scottish Rite, the Royal Arch, and so on. Rubens, what are the appendant bodies that you could go join once you're a Master Mason?
Well, after the Master Mason degree, you can join whatever you want actually, because we have.
I'm wondering what you have. I mean, what's common?
Okay. Well, I shared a presentation with you in the chat. If you can download it, and we have the bodies you have in Brazil in the very end, almost the last slide, the third one from the bottom. So we can find. But we have usually Scottish Rite, the American York Rite. You're going through the chapter, council, and the commandery. You have other rights organizations, and we have like Shriners, and we have St. Thomas of Aquin, Athelstan, Societas Rosicruciana-Invitatis Federatis, the Societas Rosicruciana you have in US.
What is that?
The Societas Rosicruciana-Invitatis Federatis is a Masonic Rosicrucian society.
Oh, we don't have that I'm aware of.
Oh, you have in US.
we may. Maybe I'm not familiar with it at all.
It's more like an invitational body. So
okay.
Well, we have the Knight Templars in New York, right?
Right.
You have like the others. Well, it's too much thing. I really can't do it by just by remembering. I don't know if Felipe.
It seems like pretty much the same as we do. Then
we have the operatives and many of them, the AMD.
Allied Masonic degrees. Okay, good. Well, it sounds like you pretty much have the same options that we have then. Okay, interesting. And I guess they're all popular in their own way. They have people.
Yeah, not all of them. Some are very small still in Brazil.
Right.
Like St. Thomas of Aquin and KTP. Well, to be in KTP, we follow the English Constitution.
That's Knights Templar.
Knight Templar priest.
Priest. Okay. That's the same as our commandery.
Yeah, but you don't need to be the president of the York Rite body, so it's a little bit different from. It's like I said, it's the English Constitution, not the U.S. Constitution, so it's a little bit different. The criteria for entering this.
Interesting. All right, Brother Felipe, how about youth groups? Do you have Masonic group? I do believe there is DMLA in Brazil. I think I read that somewhere. Are you aware of youth groups in Brazil?
The ones I know most often are the DMLA, the Rainbow Girls,
right?
Job Daughters.
Job Daughters?
Job Daughters, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought they were doing well down there. Do you see that? I mean, are you familiar with them? Do you see them at your meetings? Are you all, or are they just sort of hear of them? But
I'm not very familiar with that, but we are trying to introduce a DMLA chapter in our lodge.
Okay, I'm very active in DMLA. My son just joined last year, and I was a member, so I'm very big supporter of DMLA. Well, in Virginia, we've had recent Grand Masters who have made more of an effort to get the lodges to recognize the youth. Mostly those who work with the youth, the advisors. It's only a handful of us doing all the heavy lifting, and we'd love to get the lodges to invite them out more and be more involved with them. And some of them, especially out of my area, the youth groups are taking it on themselves. Like every time the Grand Master or the Grand Commander does an official visit in Hampton Roads, the Jodies and the Rainbow and the DMLA are there to serve at his dinners and make sure we're there volunteering and and getting ourselves in front of the Masons so they recognize us. And that's kind of a new trend. Typically, the Grand Master will have the D-Malays for his official visit. The D-Malays and the Rainbow will serve the dinners, but they're really making more of an effort to basically horn in on any Masonic thing going on in the area. The youth want to show up and be there, and, which is good. So they're making the effort. So they're more of a public face, so that the Masons are more aware of us, because a lot of Masons don't know about the youth if they don't have a kid involved, and if the lodge doesn't make an effort to have a youth program, they know very little about the youth group. So the youth groups are taking on themselves to promote the heck out of themselves, so everybody knows they're there and maybe get more support. So it's a good trend what I'm seeing. Go ahead, Rubens.
Just an observation. I heard, but I'm not sure. I didn't check. But people used to say that D-Malay in Brazil is even bigger than US. I don't know if the number of chapters or members, but people used to say that. Maybe Felipe or Luis Felipe know better than me.
Guys, I'm sorry. I had a bit of an emergency here. I'm gonna have to go.
Oh, okay, by all means, I'm sorry.
But I'm sorry. It was great being with you guys. Don't take this wrong, but I have a personal issue.
Oh, no. Do what you got to do.
Right.
Thank you for being with us. Take care, Luis.
See you.
So, yeah. Oh, let me wrap up my questions here. Do you wear, Rubens, do you wear your Masonic rings or lapel pins or other Masonic regalia? Do you advertise your Masonic self in public?
Yeah, here in Brazil, it's very common. People use lapel pins, or badges in the car. You put the
the car emblem. I was asking about that.
In Brazil, it's very common. It's very different from, like, say, Portugal or other countries. But here it's very common. People identify. They don't have problem. Usually, people that have some issues on their religious organizations, they use not to wear rings or stuff like this, but they usually are more discreet on it. But usually Brazilian is very, very like, it's like a peacock, like lapel pins and medals and stuff. So usually it's very common.
I had the opportunity when I was in Italy, and this is 95, but I attended an American military lodge over there, the Harry S. Truman Lodge in Naples. And everybody there was, active duty. I was a contractor, but mostly, Navy chiefs and all, and civilians over there. And we were kind of public in our area, but we went to visit an actual Italian lodge where they all spoke Italian at the meeting. And I didn't understand half of it, but I sat there watching. It was fun. But one of the guys came up to me after the meeting, and I got my sport coat on, and he's, gesturing at me and speaking in Italian. And my friend is like, he's saying, "What are you doing? You're wearing rings. You're wearing lapel pins. Aren't you worried? What are you doing going out like that?" Because in Italy, because of Propaganda Due and all of these trouble they had with the Vatican Bank and the one lodge that went rogue, and there's a whole bunch of stuff where the Italian government has a very dim view of Masons, because Masons were in prominent positions in the police and everywhere. There was a huge scandal. The government forced the Masonic lodges to turn over their rolls to see who was a member, and they pretty much went underground. They're still meeting, but they never wear Masonic. The Italians will not wear anything Masonic outside of the lodge room, and it's very interesting.
We need to understand that in the Italy, mainly in the southern part of Italy, we have some problem in it, like a persecution. Our brethren have some problems there, and also in Spain and Portugal, because of Franco and Salazar, we had some issues on it. And still the government have some opposition on it. So I would say that Italy, Spain, and Portugal, they are very discreet on it. And usually the most common thing I saw, and it's very rare actually, is like the forget-me-not flower in the lapel. Just this is very discreet.
Well, to be fair, in Italy, they brought the fire down on themselves because of one lodge doing what they did. It wasn't just the government in the case of Italy, but yeah, it was so funny to have someone say, "What are you doing? What are you, crazy, walking around with that? Who can see you?" But like I said, with the American military lodge, we'd have events at the Navy, you know, the parks and stuff, the Navy controlled areas within Italy. And we'd have every week there'd be something. I used to joke because most of the guys at Harry Truman were all chief petty officers. So we had like the master chief of the Navy, the NATO base, and the master chief of the Navy base, and the master chief of AFN News and all. We're all members of the lodge. So every other week we're in Kearney Park, which is like the big Navy, I can't think what they're called. Basically, they're public park that's controlled by the Navy. It's in Kearney Park. And I'd be cooking up hot dogs every week. And I turned to the guys like, am I making hot dogs for the CPOA or for the lodge? Because it was the same bunch of guys. I was hanging out with the same group of guys every time. It's like, I'm here making hot dogs. I don't care. I'm supporting you all. But it was a lot of fun. But it was, I mean, I've always worked around the Navy, so it's, you know, I was used to being around all of them, but it was really neat being over there and feeling right at home in a lodge. I mean, that's the thing about Masonry is like, you can go anywhere in the world and feel right at home. And there's no other group that offers that. And I always tell younger members, it's like, pay your dues here, buy your life membership here, and anywhere you go in the world, keep your dues current here and visit as much as you can wherever you get stationed. And then when you settle down, maybe join the lodge where you're living, but always keep your dues. Oh, that brings me to a question. Felipe, do you have life membership allowed in your lodges where you buy once and pay your dues and never have to pay them again?
Could you explain, please? I didn't understand.
Yeah, the life membership, like you would pay like 16 or 20 times your dues one time, or maybe in payments, and that goes in a fund and you never pay dues again because the fund pays out of the interest. Do you guys offer anything like that?
No, we don't have something like that in our Grand Lodge. Okay. I don't know if Rubens have something similar.
Rubens, do you have anything? Any kind of life membership?
I never saw a life membership in Brazil, actually, because I told you it's very expensive in the Freemason in Brazil. But,
right.
And even there are some issues on dual or plural membership also, because many Grand Lodge or Grand Orients, maybe they admit some filiation in other lodge under the same constitution, but usually they don't admit your membership in another. Usually not in a Brazilian constitution, another Brazilian constitution is not allowed, but maybe some Grand Lodge may accept a dual or plural membership in another Grand Lodge from other countries. As I told you, I am a member from Internet Lodge under the UGLE Grand Lodge and a lodge in Australia in Victoria. So it's allowed, but usually Grand Lodges in Brazil don't accept this kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I went through all of my questions. Bill, Mark, Edward, either you, Julius, we haven't heard from you, Julius. You've been on mute the whole time, and some other brother called in. I don't know who it is.
John London.
Hey, John London, another member of Virginia Research. Good to have you here, brother.
Yes.
Do any of you
Apologies
have any
on
questions?
that, but I didn't find the message in the spam trap until rather later than the meeting started.
I am so sorry about that. Yeah, John London, I've known him longer than anybody else, I think, in Research Lodge, and he's always been the marshal. He just doesn't want to give that job up. I'm glad you're here, brother. Do any of you have questions for Rubens or Felipe before we wrap this up? Edward, you're muted. Edward's talking, but he's muted. Still muted. Hang on, let me see if I can.
Maybe you can unmute him.
Unmute.
There you go. Sorry.
Okay, we're there. There was a question about taking the obligation on the volume of sacred law of your religion. And in our jurisdiction, we have to have the Holy Bible on the altar in addition to that other sacred volume. I wondered if in Brazil, if they did too.
Yeah, at least usually, well, I never saw a lodge working without the Bible. But as a landmark, every lodge needs to have the volume of sacred law. And usually the Bible. I never saw another one as the volume of sacred law. They may have other one, but not anyone that don't have the Bible.
Okay. I would guess if they offered, like, now some places, like everyone's maybe read it, Rudyard Kipling refers to the lodge he attended had 5 volumes of sacred law on the Bible on the altar every time, and you just used the one that was, because there were so many brothers of different faiths. But I would think, like in the case of Brother Louise mentioned, if you are Jewish or Muslim and you have a different book to put there, they would have that as well, and they would still have the Bible open with the jewels on it for the degree, but then you would put your hand on that other book to take your obligation.
Yeah,
that way we're accommodating both.
I know that's the way it is in our jurisdiction.
Yes.
I'm just wondering about that.
Where are you from, Edward?
I'm about 50 miles south of Roanoke.
Oh, okay.
A little community called Martinsville, Collinsville.
So you're in, I'm sorry, so you're still in Virginia or in North Carolina? Huh?
Collinsville.
In North Carolina or Virginia?
No, it's in Virginia.
Okay.
It's right on the North Carolina line.
Okay.
It's about
right.
50 miles south of Roanoke.
Right. Yeah, I would think that would be typical.
Yeah. That was my question.
Okay, good.
Thank you, brethren.
I really appreciate you guys. This has been a lot of fun. This has worked out better than I thought. I just wish we had more attendees, but I'm going to put this out on YouTube so other brothers can enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about Brazil. I thought it'd be different, but it is kind of neat. And we probably could have gone even longer if we got into the other rites and such